Hey guys, today's video of Swordland Strategies is going to be about the game's ethnic group known as the Bloods. So, the Bloods play a unique role in the story, and also just a big role in some of the decisions you'll make in the game. So, this video is mainly going to be a guide of how to earn the Bludish Dream achievement, which generally just improves the rights of the Bludish people. We're going to also talk about a short summary of the game, history of them, the culture and political struggles they had, just to kind of contextualize the choices that you make towards them in the story. So this video is going to be split into two main parts. The first is obviously the short summary and history of the Bloods, and the second is going to be how to earn the Bludish Dream achievement. So during this guide, I'll share how to create the Bergia Autonomous Zone. I'll also share how to amend the Articles 6 and 7 of the Constitution, how to create Minority Rights Committee and sign the Minority Rights Bill, and we're also just going to go over the general external drivers of what can help you get the Bludish Dream achievement. So feel free to skip to any of those parts of the video of what might be most helpful to you, but first we're going to go over the history and context of the Bludish people in Suzerain. So the Bludish people, or often called the Bloods, are an ethnic group native to Bergia, which was a region spanning in parts of Swordland, parts of Welland, Lesbia, Rumburg, and eastern Mercopa. So the group has their own language, which makes them very distinct from their neighbors in the countries that they live in, and they remain stateless despite the historical ties they have to the land, and are often marginalized, including countries like Swordland, which is obviously the one you play. Historically, the Bloods had their own state, known as the Duchy of Bergia, but then it got invaded by Markian forces and was conquered, so they kind of lost their country. But over time, the Bloods, while they stayed in the land, they were absorbed into the newly emerging states. So that would be, like, as I said before, Swordland, Welland, Lesbia, and Rumburg. And the Bloods kept their culture and language and traditions even though they were separated. So recent events of the Bloods' history would be the Ism incident of 1933, which sparked the formation of the BFF, or the Bludish Freedom Front. The Bludish Freedom Front is a militant organization that seeks the creation of an independent Bludish state, and the group launched insurgencies inside of Sordis region Bergia, which creates conflict with the government. So these conflicts resulted in heavy suppression from the group, and also added to the Bludish separatist and nationalist movements. The Bludish Freedom Party was founded in 1924, but was banned due to its alleged ties to the Bludish Freedom Front. Later, in 1948, the Workers' Party of Bergia was established as a leftist political party focused on Bludish autonomy. The Workers' Party of Bergia advocated for peaceful reforms rather than the more militant forms brought by the BFF and the Bludish Freedom Party that came before. The party dreams of independence, but also fights pragmatically for rights and greater autonomy in Swordland. And you'll also meet characters like Monsoon Leek, who was a part of the Workers' Party of Bergia, but now holds a seat as an independent. So that's pretty much it for the quick historical summary. And now we'll just get to the main part of the video, which is a guide to the Bludish Dream achievement. So the best way to know you've done well for the Bludish people is by earning the Bludish Dream achievement, which is split into three main tasks. The first of those is creating a Bergia Autonomous Zone. The second is amending Articles 6 and 7 of the Constitution. And third is establishing a Minority Rights Committee and signing the Minority Rights Act. So first, you'll need to create the Bergia Autonomous Zone, and there's three main things that you'll want to do to achieve it, so take note. The first thing is during turn 6, you want to support Justice Minister Nia Morgan's plan to create the Autonomous Zone. Second is to avoid other options brought up, like supporting Lilius Graf's full integration plan, and also avoiding maintaining the status quo, or just ignoring it and focusing on constitutional amendments other than it. Third is to sign the Autonomous Zone Act during turn 8 when it's presented by Nia, and obviously don't cancel the plan after this point once you accept it. Next, you'll want to amend Articles 6 and 7 of the Constitution. So first, you'll want to build pro-Bludish reputation by supporting progressive reforms and also siding with the PFJP party with Franz Richter during the Victory Day meeting. On screen, I'll add each bill and act that affects Bludish popularity and also list the bill's names and whether you should sign it or not. So first, the Electoral Campaign Finance Bill, which you'll veto. You'll also veto the Religious Harmony Bill. You'll veto the Unified Education Language Act. You'll veto the Security Act. You'll sign the Freedoms Act. And of course, you'll sign the Minority Rights Act. You'll also want to secure a meeting with the independents Fethi Ehal and Monsoon Leek during turn 7. This opens opportunities to further Bludish rights and create the Minority Rights Committee, as well as amending Articles 6 and 7. So an important part to pulling off these political changes for the Bloods is actually gaining your own party support. So for this, you might need to make some concessions, and I'm going to give 3 examples of concessions you may have to give. The first is convincing Gloria Tory and other party factions of earlier constitutional amendments and compromising if necessary for those changes. The second is agreeing to revert the Energy Protection Act to 10% if it's required. And third is arresting Fethi Ehal to placate your party's concerns. of your pro-British reforms. These aren't necessary, but it will probably come up in your playthrough, and you may need to use them to compromise to be able to pass the reforms that you want to amend the Constitution, so keep them in mind. But generally, just make sure you have good standing and support from your party. This includes the PFJP that you'll be allied with, and also make sure to follow their progressive reforms and balance their support with your own party support. And all of this should be enough to amend the Constitution. So the third main thing you want to focus on is the Minority Rights Committee. To do this, you need to establish good rapport with the Bludish population and stay friendly with Monsoon League. You'll also need to keep enough general popularity in the country for League to approach you on turn 9 with the Minority Rights Act. So to do this, make sure to call off operations against the BFF in turn 7 to avoid escalations, decline to attend the Ashraf anniversary to prevent extremist backlash, and also just generally keep your population good, keep your Bludish population high too, and those can be done through the bills and general actions through the game. So those are the main goals of earning the Bludish Dream achievement, and that should be able to make you successfully get it, but there's also some general strategies that can help. The first is to adopt democratic reforms from the start and avoiding authoritarian paths. The second is to maintain a stable economy. The third is to build alliances with the USP and PFJP, like I said before, also having alliances with Bludish leaders and balancing their demands to keep everyone on board. And lastly is to manage international relations kind of neutrally, just to avoid unnecessary complications. Beyond these general strategies, other things that could help, which aren't necessary, is to prioritize healthcare and education as it gains more public support, to keep immigration policies relaxed to increase the economy and also social support, to make calculated decisions about appeasing the oligarchs, so this could be just through privatization and keeping them off your neck. And those are just some general tips of how to help. Kind of looking overall, while achieving the Bludish Dream and getting these steps can be hard, if it's done correctly, you will get the achievement if you follow those steps. It's also important to understand when you're trying to figure this out that there's a lot of other things in the game that can hinder or help your success. So as I've kind of alluded to before, the first would be public opinion and Bludish opinion. Well, of course, you're ideally going to want to keep both of these high, but realistically, you're only going to be able to balance them and make sure that both pass the thresholds of being able to, get the choices you want. Another thing that matters is the foreign power you align with. So I'd recommend siding with the West because it aligns with your democratic reforms, it aligns with the market economy that we're going to go through for building the economy, and it also appeases the oligarchs. And speaking of the economy, as I've also alluded to, keeping the economy is good because it keeps public perception up, and economic failures also create conflict in Bludish regions, which we don't want. So that's pretty much the end of the guide. It was complicated for sure, but I hope it helped. Keep in mind that not everything needs to be followed as exact, but things like economic strategy, superpower alignment, and those things, you can change them in your playthrough. You also don't have to do every single part of the Bludish Dream achievement if you want to just go for more specific things like the autonomous zone or amending the Constitution. But to get the achievement, the game is pretty strict of what you have to do, so it can be hard to set everything in place, so just follow the guide for that. Anyway, I'd like to thank all of you guys for watching. This guide did take a lot of research and testing to do, so I'd appreciate a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment or other guides that you might want me to do in the future, and also subscribe so you can see them, and if you ever need help while playing Suzerain. I used 3 main sources while creating this, so I left those in the description. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.